On a deserted road at night, a 24 to 25-year-old girl was running unconsciously on the road barefoot. His clothes were torn at many places and looked very old and dirty. There were many injury marks on her body. Some wounds were even bleeding, and there were some deep injury marks on her hands and legs. Looking at those marks, it seemed as if someone had kept the girl tied in chains for many days. Half of her face was burnt, and she was looking quite scary, but despite all this, there was something that still made the girl quite attractive, and that was her deep blue eyes, in which fear could be clearly seen at this moment. Needless to say, that girl must have been very beautiful before she got into this condition. But at this time she was very scared. The girl once looked back where about 4 to 5 cars were following her. Seeing this, she started running towards the forest to save herself. While running, she had reached close to a ditch, but her strength was slowly waning and she was becoming weak. She knew that if she didn't do something soon she would be caught. He had only one way to escape from this hell-like life, and that was the way of death. He looked at the deep ditch in front of him and made a decision in his mind. Will she now end her life, which is worse than this hell? Thinking this, she started running towards the ditch. But then suddenly a bullet hit her leg from nowhere and the girl fell straight to the ground with a scream. Ah, her scream was heart-wrenching. There was a deep ditch behind her, and in front of her stood the same people from whom she was running away. She somehow controlled herself and raised her head and looked up to see a beautiful girl standing in front of her wearing a one-piece, gray-colored knee-length bodycon dress, and next to that girl were standing a middle-aged man and woman, and behind those three were many bodyguards with guns in their hands. The girl looked at the middle-aged woman with moist eyes and said with a pained voice, Why are you doing all this to me, mother?" Hearing this, the middle-aged woman said with a smile, "Your life has now become a threat to Sakshi, Ashani, so will you have to die?" Hearing this, Ashani could not believe her ears. This woman was her own real mother, who wanted to kill her, and that too only for the sake of her stepdaughter Sakshi, who had no blood relation with her. Then Sakshi looked at Ashani with a poisonous smile and said, "Oh my God, poor Ishu D. To tell you the truth, I am very sorry to see you like this, but what should I do? You are of no use to me now, so you will have to die, D. And please forgive this stepsister of yours for this." Saying this, Sakshi pointed the gun at Ashani. Seeing this, Ashani's eyes filled with hatred. What had she done for these ungrateful people, and today they were trying to kill her? Ashani laughed at herself thinking this. How stupid she was to trust these fraudsters. Today he had lost everything. Ashani looked at the three people standing in front of her with hatred in her eyes and said, "Do you think you will survive after killing me, Sakshi? Don't forget that whatever you are today is because of me. You don't have anything to call your own. You got this name, this recognition, this fame all because of my hard work. So if I die today, will you survive, won't you too? Very soon the world will come to know the truth that the paintings by which you have become famous all over the world were made by me, because you can definitely steal my paintings but you can never steal my talent. Very soon your real face will be revealed in front of the whole world, and then you will not be able to do anything. Yes, 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 yes." Saying this, Ashani started laughing like crazy. Sakshi also got scared for a moment after hearing her words. But then Sakshi's father Mahesh said, "She has gone completely crazy, don't pay attention to her words and end it quickly and leave from here." Hearing this, Sakshi immediately pointed her gun towards Ashani. So Ashani looked at the three shameless people standing in front of her with her hateful eyes and said, "Do you think that you people can kill me so easily, huh? I will never let my death happen at the hands of vile and fallen people like you, otherwise my soul will never find peace." Saying this, Ashani looked at the three people present in front of her with a smile, and before anyone could understand anything, she jumped back into the ditch. Seeing this, Sakshi, Mahesh and Sakshi's stepmother, Arti, all three were surprised. Here Ashani closed her eyes and started falling into the ditch. Her entire life started playing in front of her eyes like a movie. This life of hers was no less than a curse for her, and today she had ended this curse. She was now free. Now no shackles could imprison her. He closed his eyes with regret and embraced death with outstretched arms. Hey, wake up quickly. Do you come here to sleep? I will go and complain to your boss. I don't know how the owner of this cafe has hired such useless employees. Ashani's eyes opened with this sound. She was having a severe headache, and everything was looking blurry in front of her eyes. Ashani blinked her eyelids 4 or 5 times and turned her head and started looking here and there. But she was surprised to see the scene around her. Who? At this time she was in the same cafe where she used to work part-time 12 years ago. Ashani's eyes had now opened completely. She immediately looked at her hands and legs, which were now completely fine and looked whiter than milk. There was not a single injury mark on her body, nor was there a mark of being shackled. Ashani was not able to understand anything. Didn't she jump down from the ditch? He should have been dead by now. Then what was she doing here? Was this a dream? Ashani is still thinking all this? Then someone knocked on the counter in front of him with their fingers and asked him, "Are you okay?" Ashani raised her head and saw that a boy of about 25 to 26 years of age was standing in front of her. This was the same boy who was scolding Ashani some time ago. That boy had come to this coffee shop to drink coffee. His day was very bad and tiring, so he wanted to relieve his tiredness by drinking coffee. But after coming here he saw that the waitress who served coffee was happily sleeping at the time of work and was not getting up even after he asked her to do so. The boy was very angry at Ashani's unprofessional behavior, but when he saw Ashani's condition, he started thinking she was doing very strange things after waking up from sleep. The boy was feeling very strange after seeing Ashani's actions. Then Ashani suddenly stood up and asked the boy, "What is today's date?" Hearing this question of Ashani, the boy started looking at her as if he was looking at a madman. Now the boy was getting very angry, hence he shouted to Ashani, "Are you mad? Today's date is the 7th of December 2013. Don't you know even this much? Today is a bad day. I don't know why I came to this cafe to drink coffee." Saying this, the boy left from there muttering angrily. The same Ashani was stunned after listening to that boy's words. Till now only what the boy had said was echoing in her ears. Today's date is December 7th, 2013. Does this mean that she came back 12 years? Does this mean that she was reborn? Ashani could not believe it. She checked her whole body one more time and started looking around her. Everything was exactly the same as it used to be 12 years ago. 1 minute, what does it mean if I have arrived 12 years ago? Ashani left her words incomplete and quickly started looking at her face in a table mirror kept near the counter. As he thought, her face was perfect, and those deep blue eyes of hers were shining with new hope. Her hair was very short, which was reaching till her ears, and some hair was also scattered on her forehead. Ashani was currently wearing a simple old white t-shirt and blue jeans, but still she was looking quite attractive and full of enthusiasm. His age at this time seemed to be around 14 to 15 years. Ashani touched her face and suddenly a mysterious smile appeared on her lips. She had come back? She had come back after defeating death. Maybe even fate had taken pity on her. That's why fate has taken pity on her and given her another chance to live. Ishika saw her existence reflected in front of her and smilingly said to herself, "I have gone back, Sakshi, to take revenge for every injustice. every injustice and every crime that happened to me. Wait for me, because now we are going to meet very soon, and this time I will not give you even a single chance against me. The countdown of your life has started from today, right now, and from this moment onwards." Having said this, she was smiling strangely. Now he just had to wait for the right time. Then Ashani remembered something. If she was not wrong, then her real father Suresh Sharma was currently in jail and her old grandmother and Ashani now lived alone. Suresh Sharma was currently in jail for an accidental murder case, and now Ashani was left with only her old grandmother. Ashani and her grandmother were now each other's support. Ashani immediately picked up her bag without any delay and took early leave from the owner of that cafe and left for her home. Her new life had begun, and this time she was not going to give anyone a chance to do wrong to her. But right now she was excited to meet her grandmother because according to her memory, exactly 2 years from now, her grandmother had passed away due to illness. That's why Ashani wanted to spend this precious time with her grandmother. She no longer wanted to have any regrets in her life. She had 2 full years to meet Sakshi, and in these 2 years she wanted to make herself so strong that no one could break her. After 2 years, Missouri, during the summer season, the air of Missouri often becomes very humid and suffocating. But now the summer season was also slowly ending. Even in the afternoon the sky was surrounded by some light dark clouds. Light warm winds were blowing and everything seemed quite calm in the atmosphere. Like every day, Ashani was doing her part-time job at a coffee shop after school. The business of that coffee shop was not very good, but still the owner there always gave Ashani her salary on time. Because she knew that Ashani was going through difficult circumstances, she was in dire need of money at this time. Today Ashani was very quiet, and was quietly doing her work. Her hair had now grown a lot, and she was looking more beautiful than before. But his blue eyes were more sad today. When the owner of that cafe saw Ashani so silent, she also started sighing helplessly. The lady boss, while cleaning the table, asked Ashani, "I heard that you are leaving tomorrow, issue?" Because the business of the cafe was not very good, Ashani used to work there alone with the lady boss. There was no other staff there except Ashani. As soon as Ashani heard the lady boss's question, her working hands suddenly stopped, and she slowly nodded her head and said, "Yes." "Then it will become even more difficult for us to meet each other," the lady boss said with a long sigh. She knew that Ashani had grown up living with her old grandmother. But 2 weeks ago her grandmother had died due to a heart attack, and because Ashani had not yet become an adult, her custody was given to her mother Aarti Betty. Before this, perhaps no one even knew that Ashani's mother was alive, and not only that, after leaving Ashani and her father Suresh, she had remarried in a rich family of Dehradun. There was hardly an hour's distance between Dehradun and Missouri, but still that woman had never come to meet Ashani. "Your mom must be missing you a lot. After all, you both have not met for so many years," the lady boss said a little hesitantly. Hearing this, Ashani suddenly raised her head and started looking at the lady boss with her deep blue eyes. Ashani's eyes were very beautiful. Her long thick eyelashes were exactly like the wings of a butterfly. The black pupils of her eyes were as deep as the night. Her eyes were absolutely clear and shiny, in which a slight coldness and extreme peace was visible. Hearing Lady Boss's words, Ashani moved her lips slightly and said in her slow but charming voice, maybe, if her mother had really missed her at all, she would not have remained hidden from her for so many years." Ashani's father Suresh Sharma was a simple man from a very ordinary family. Due to his good looks, he had convinced Ashani's mother Aarti to marry him. But their marriage could not last long. After his marriage, Suresh ji became unemployed and ambitious. Artie was fed up with this poor life. She could no longer live this terrible life with Suresh, so she finally got upset and divorced Suresh, and when Ishani was 6 years old, she left Suresh and Ishani. Just a month after Artie's divorce from Suresh, Suresh was sentenced to life imprisonment because he was driving under the influence and was involved in a hit-and-run case that resulted in the loss of an innocent life. Since then Ishani was brought up by her grandmother. Ishani had tried very hard to save her grandmother, but 2 weeks ago her grandmother suddenly had a major heart attack, due to which she passed away. Ishani tightened her fists. Maybe even after being reborn, she could not stop some things even if she wanted to, one of which was the death of her grandmother. In her previous life too, her grandmother had died due to heart problem. Hence in this birth Ishani took special care of her, checked her regularly. She used to take him to the UPS also. Ishani took special care of his medicines, but her old grandmother could not bear the sudden heart attack 2 weeks ago and left her. Ishani had understood one thing, that no matter what happens, some things could never be changed. No one could obey the laws of nature. Then the lady boss said to Ishani, "Are you happy? Isn't issue?" She considered lady boss Ishani exactly like her own daughter. That is why she was worried about Ishani. Hearing lady boss's question, a devilish glint appeared in Ishani's eyes. Happy, huh? If his grandmother had not died suddenly 2 weeks ago, he would probably never have got a chance to meet Artie Betty again in this life. After all, why would anyone like a burden like Ishani? But yes, she was happy. After all, the time for her revenge had now begun. Although in her previous life Ishani only wanted love from her family, which was her misunderstanding and foolishness, because the Betty family never loved her, she was just a pawn for the Betty family, which they were using. In his previous life he was handicapped, embarrassed, lost everything, and finally his will to live had also died. Eventually, she was confined in a mental asylum for a year and was later forced to end her life by the Betty family. However, when Ishani woke up once again, she realized that she had transformed into a 15-year-old girl. Fortunately, everything was just beginning. Ishani was now 17 years old, and now the time for the beginning of her revenge was also near. The lady owner of the cafe was quite surprised to see Ishani's reaction. Till 2 years ago, whenever she talked to Ishani about her mother, she could not bear to see the happiness on Ishani's face. She used to be over the moon with happiness after hearing the mention of her mother, but unfortunately, 2 years ago, everything had changed. Don't know what suddenly happened 2 years ago that a cheerful and playful girl like Ishani suddenly became calm and silent. By the way, that lady boss had now got used to this cold behavior of Ishani. Then suddenly Ishani's phone, which was in her pocket, started vibrating. She took out the phone and checked and found that she was getting a call from a private number in Dehradun. Ishani understood that it was the number of her so-called mother Artie. Ishani's eyes fell on the number flashing on the phone for a moment, and without any hesitation she disconnected the call and put her phone on silent mode and put it in her pocket again. Seeing Ishani disconnecting the call like this, the lady boss asked with surprise, "Whose phone was the issue?" "I don't know, maybe it was a scam call," Ishani replied nonchalantly. After listening to Ishani's answer, the lady boss said to her, "Okay, I am going home. You also close the cafe and go home early. The weather is very bad today, don't delay too much." Hearing this, Ishani slowly nodded her head yes. Then lady boss left from there. Lady boss's house was at a short distance from the cafe. Hence Ishani often used to finish her work and after closing the cafe, take the keys to lady boss's house and give them to her. The sky was becoming darker, and suddenly there was thunder and it started raining. Ishani had already worked for 2 more hours in the coffee shop. When she looked at the time on her phone, it was 10 o'clock at night. She was sitting on a stool, tearing up sticky notes and writing on them. Suddenly a loud honking sound came from a car outside. Ashani raised her head and looked outside. A black BMW was stopped outside the coffee shop. Seeing that car, Ashani slowly sat straight. The driver got out of the car and before going to the back seat, he opened an umbrella, and as the driver opened the back door of the car, a well-dressed woman got out of the car and entered the coffee shop. The woman's face was glowing, making it clear that she took very good care of her skin, but still her facial expressions were extremely scary. The woman looked at Ashani and wrinkled her eyebrows. She had seen Ashani's pictures before too, but this was the first time that both of them were meeting face to face like this after 11 years. Ashani was wearing a casual black t-shirt, which sometimes showed her perfect collarbone. Her smoky gray skinny jeans were making her straight and long legs even more attractive, and the most beautiful thing was her blue eyes, which made her different from everyone else. The driver accompanying the woman looked at Ashani with disgusted eyes and came aside and stood there. Even after seeing that woman, Ashani did not get up from her place. Seeing such careless behavior of Ashani, the woman got a little angry. She clenched her fists and started thinking in her mind, he didn't say anything even after seeing his mother, I don't know what values they have given him. Arti took a deep breath and then tried to speak softly. Ashani, I went to your school today. Your class teacher said that you have not been attending your classes for the last few days. Why are you leaving school and wasting your time in this small coffee shop? Arti said while looking around the coffee shop. It really took her a long time to find this small down market coffee shop. Hearing Arti, Ashani closed the cap of her pen and said softly, I had fever for the last 3 days and today I am feeling a little better. Besides, I am now in debt due to my grandmother's funeral, so I come here to work so that I can repay my debt. Hearing Ashani's reply, Arti got stuck and couldn't say anything to her. Hearing Ashani's reply, Arti got stuck and couldn't say anything to her. Then Arti remembered something and said to Ashani, I called you many times before coming here, why didn't you pick up my call? Ashani checked her phone after hearing this and raised her eyebrows. There were many missed call notifications on the home screen of her phone, and she said with surprise, oh, now I understand, sorry, I thought it was a scam call, so I didn't pick up. But perhaps Arti did not know that Ashani had not even saved her number. Hearing Ashani's answer, Arti closed her eyes in anger for a minute. While divorcing Suresh, she never imagined that she would come back to Missouri again after deciding to leave everything behind and move out of this small place. Her previous marriage and her daughter Ashani were things she never wanted to talk about. Betty family had a very big name and status in Dehradun, and after a lot of hard work, Arti had made her place in the Betty family. Now Mahesh's daughter Sakshi had adopted him. Arti and Mahesh also had a son named Akshat. Everything was slowly getting fine in his life. Everything was going well when suddenly Ashani came back in his life. In fact, Arti had no desire to come back here at all. But apart from this she had nothing, there was no other option. Ashani had not yet turned 18 and she had only Arti in the name of her family. Hence Ashani's custody automatically went to Arti. Seeing Ashani, she remembered her sad and poverty-filled past, due to which she was not able to get close to Ashani even if she wanted to. Arti took a deep breath and said, you don't need to worry about your debts, you just get ready. We are leaving from here for Dehradun, so pack your things and follow me. Arti said, almost ordering Ashani, and turned to leave. He had barely taken a step forward when Ashani's voice reached his ears. I can't pack in such a hurry, will you at least give me time till tonight? Hearing this, Arti turned her head and said to Ashani restlessly, What things do you have to pack from that small house? I have already prepared everything for you in Dehradun, you. I don't have the habit of using other people's things, Ashani said, interrupting Arti. Arti's heart sank at his words. How did this girl know? Ashani remembered that in her previous life, Arti had decorated her room very beautifully, seeing which Ashani was very happy and started considering herself lucky. The onlookers would think that Arti had decorated Ashani's room very lovingly and wholeheartedly, but the truth was that every single thing in that room was witnessed by Sakshi. It was used, be it clothes or jewelry. Everything was left by Sakshi which she never used, and Arti got all the same stuff kept in Ashani's room. Arti tightened her fists this time. She had told Mahesh that she would be home by tonight, and if she gets late because of Ashani, then Sakshi would definitely feel very bad. She would be eagerly waiting for her at home. The rain outside was also getting heavier. Then the driver standing behind Arti checked his phone and said worriedly, "Madam, due to heavy rain, the route from Mussoorie to Dehradun has been closed." What? Arti had now become even more worried. It seems that she might not be able to return home tonight. Seeing Arti upset, Ashani rested her face on her hand and a light smile appeared on her lips. Actually, she did not have much luggage to pack. She just did not want to leave for Mussoorie tonight. In his previous life, on this very day, it was raining heavily in Mussoorie, and about 10 to 12 cars had collided with each other on the highway from Mussoorie to Dehradun. Due to this terrible accident, 3 people died and 7 were injured, and as far as Ashani was concerned, she was also one of those injured people in her previous life. But the driver and Arti were lucky enough to suffer only minor injuries during the accident. But Ashani's right hand was broken and it took her 3 months to recover from the injury. And the most noticeable thing was that after that car accident, Ashani's right hand had stopped working to some extent. After that accident, Ashani realized that there was probably some problem with the car and she wanted to get it investigated. Although Arti had told her that the car was badly damaged due to the accident, due to which the car was dismantled, hence Ashani could not get the car checked even though she wanted to. But now that life has given her a second chance, she will never take the risk of sitting in that car again. Now, since it was not possible to return from Mussoorie to Dehradun today, Arti said, if it is so, then I will call home and tell Mahesh ji that I am staying here in Mussoorie tonight. Ramesh, book a hotel room for us. Ramesh was the name of the driver who came with Arti. Yes, Ramesh said and started booking the hotel room from his phone. But then Ashani said, I will stay at my house. If you want, you can stay in the hotel. As soon as Arti heard Ashani's words, Arti's hands on the phone trembled for a moment. That house? He had never stepped inside that house again in 11 years. But since Ashani was insisting on staying at home, Arti had nothing else to say. She just wanted to get out of this place as soon as possible. She would never step into this dirty place again. Arti tightened her grip on the pallu of her sari and said to the driver standing behind her, Ramesh, drop Ashani to her house first. Half an hour later, the black BMW entered an old area of Mussoorie city. The financial condition of Ashani and her grandmother was not very good, hence they lived in this old area of Mussoorie city, because they could not afford to buy a house in a posh and residential area. At last the car stopped in front of a narrow street. The car could not go further than this. The rain had reduced considerably now. Under the light of the street light, some mud and water-filled potholes were clearly visible on the narrow road, and the condition of the building and house next to them was also not very good. After looking at all these things, Arti turned her eyes away in disgust. She looked at Ashani sitting on the seat next to her and said, I will come to pick you tomorrow at 8 in the morning, be ready. Saying this she turned her eyes away from Ashani. Hearing this, Ashani slung her backpack on her shoulder and quickly got out of the car and went inside that street. Ashani was holding the umbrella in one hand, and there was a wry smile on her lips. "Auntie Betty, from today the happy days of you and the Betty family are over." Just then a white car passed near the black BMW and Ashani. Karen, who was driving the white car, looked at the person sitting on the back seat with a very silly smile and said, "I really don't understand what is so good about this small town of Missouri that you come here every month. You don't even come here and do anything. You just keep wandering on the streets like a nomad. It's been almost a year now. Do you really think that I am your driver?" A man sitting on the back seat of the car had his head bowed while looking out of the window. He was quite fair and his black hair was scattered over his forehead and eyes. His black perfect eyebrows were joined together at this time. He was thinking about something while caressing his perfect and sharp jawline. The man was wearing a black business suit, with 2 buttons open at the neck, so that a glimpse of his sexy Adam's apple was clearly visible. His eyes were lazy but very cold. His face was so handsome that he could leave even the biggest movie kings behind. But at this moment that handsome face was completely emotionless. After listening to Karen, the man said to him in his lazy voice, "You are like my driver." There was a heaviness in his voice. Perhaps he had not slept properly. Karen, who was driving the car in front, was completely speechless after listening to that person. This friend of Karen was definitely very handsome, but not everyone had the strength to bear his strange behavior. Karen angrily wanted to say something to that person, but then he remembered what old Master Rachand had said and controlled his anger. He took a deep breath and said to that person, "It has been a year since that accident, Rehan. I think at least now you should go to a psychiatrist after all. For how long will you keep wandering on the streets of Missouri like this, you?" But before Karen could complete his words, he saw that Rehan was not paying attention to his words. Rehan was sitting straight on his seat and was continuously looking outside through the car window. When Karen followed her gaze, he saw a black BMW in front. But seeing the familiar license number plate of that car, he narrowed his eyes and said with a little surprise, "Maybe this is the Betty family's car? It seems as if they have really come to take that girl away from here." At this time, Rehan's eyes were fixed on the person holding an umbrella present in that narrow street. After listening to Karen, he said very calmly, "Betty family?"